Well, welcome back to the Sophia Files. We got the band together today for the second time in a while, and then we'll be missing Danica next week. You've got your I almost said Gray Rocks because I'm thinking Gray Hawk. My God, Red Rocks. That's gonna be so exciting. Um, and who are you gonna go see?
Somber.
Ooh, he's really popular right now. What's your favorite song from him?
I don't even know the names of the songs.
Well, then hell
It's
yeah!
just more on my bucket list to go to Red Rocks, and that's who happened to be playing when we
Well,
were in town. So,
I think
and
that's
I
a
like
really
their
good
music.
show.
So,
I've heard that he's really good live. So,
oh,
and it
good.
feels like you're gonna have a good time.
Thank
Um,
you.
we're gonna have an interesting conversation today that's a little bit different than average, from the sense of instead of round robining as much, we're gonna kind of talk about our individual paths with spirituality, how that sort of started, so that we can kind of get a grasp. Last week, our guides were sort of wanting us to get back to the basics of what we do and the topic of that. So we're gonna try to get that done. I'm gonna let y'all say hi, Ariel, Danica, and Melissa.
Ariel of the Lunar Claire here in DFW. And I enjoy making this wonderful podcast with these three ladies.
Awesome, Danica.
Hi, I'm Danica. My business is Goldilocks Glimmers. I am a medium, and I love reconnecting people with their loved ones in spirit.
And I am Melissa, the Rising Phoenix Medium. I am in the Pacific Northwest right now, the Washington State, sort of like middle of the West Coast. And I go tour through the MeWe fairs, so you can catch me on those. And I can do mediumship. It is not my most favorite thing to do. I really like the spiritual counseling. I like helping people navigate their new gifts, and I do energy healing. So those are my favorite things.
My name's Sophia Sterling. I'm a psychic medium intuitive, and my major gift is claircogency. And I have the pleasure of doing this podcast with these three ladies, the Sophia Files, and then I also have the Spiritual Polymath Experience, which will be different versions of sort of all-you-can-eat buffet style education learning that will always have a party attached to it. So more information on that coming. But let's jump into it. Okay, so what does it mean to us, Spiritual 101? I'm going to let Danica start. If somebody said, what is Spirituality 101, what would you say?
I would say it's learning about your intuition and connecting with yourself.
Yes. What do you think, Ariel?
That's what I was thinking, is learning to put you and your feelings above everyone else. Because at the end of the day, it's just you and your decisions.
And what about you, Melissa?
Well, I would say letting go of my ego, to be able to approach life without that colored lens. You know, that ego kind of gets in our way, and removing that and kind of seeing myself for who I am, seeing others for who they are, and acknowledging that there is that spirituality that is inherent in all of us. And we each decide how much we want to jump into it. And so, yeah, it's a very nebulous concept, but that's kind of where I start.
No, it is a nebula. Well, I agree. Well, and I would say too, for somebody who is brand new, I would say that spirituality is like a muscle within us. If it is ignored, then it functions as though it's ignored. It doesn't have as much influence over your life in any discernible fashion. But no matter what, there is spirit in everything. It's just up to the individual thing and its capability to train its muscle. And so I would say that spirituality has a tendency to behave like training your body. There is diminishing returns. So when you get to a certain point with it, you can't really meditate into more truth, right? Just like if you work out, you can't make your muscles so big it'll pop off. Like there's limitations that come to your level of training, how you perceive, how you want it to work for you, how do you believe that it will work for you, and then we get into those different layers of it, but primarily starting there. So I would say also too, you can't see it, right? When you discern about somebody that they have a spiritual nature and you don't, let's say your eyes are off. So what are the key components to, if before you guys had any knowingness about spirituality? what would you say gave off the evidence that somebody was high in spirituality or somebody who was active in it when you were before you were involved in it? For me, I remember just feeling like some people would walk in the room and I'd feel nervous of them. I just don't know why. It wasn't a negative thing. I almost felt like I should honor them and felt nervous. What about you guys? Ariel, I'll start with you.
Feel like for me it was superficial. It was, do they have on all of the beads, bracelets, necklaces, featherwear? So that was me. It was just more of like a superficial thing. Think of like, I don't know, because even walking into certain metaphysical stores, kind of felt a little intimidating at times because it was, well, what are they doing? Are they reading me? What are they doing? Right. But that's about what I would say for me.
Mm-hmm. Danica?
So I would say I recognized somebody's authenticity, and that, I mean, everybody's so different. So there's different personalities and different people that do things different. So I always would like feel when I went into a space how the energy felt there, even though somebody had like classes that looked good for me to take or whatever, everybody is so different and they lead them in different ways, that I tried to pay attention to how I felt in that space. And if I was in like coherence with words that were being said or the feelings that I felt in that space and what was being taught. So that
Well,
made a huge difference for me.
really quick, you just hit on a word that I'm going to circle back to. Coherence is a super important word, and I wish I heard it more in metaphysics. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then Melissa, what about you?
So when I was very young, I confused religion for spirituality because I thought that was where it came from. You had to be in a religion in order to get spirit, because I thought that it was one and the same with religion. Even though I recognize that there are multiple religions, I thought it was from that. And then as I was a young adult, I equated like the epitome of spirituality is like that self-governance and self-control and that balance that you would have, which I still think is kind of an immature concept, but we're getting there. As an adult, I recognize that it is the acceptance that there is creation energy, and whatever deity you want to ascribe to that, it is what lives inside us. We are creation. What we are what we want to be. And so you can have that spirituality and recognize that everybody's on their own path and not be judgmental and not have an ego about, oh, this is what I should be doing or this is what I want to be doing. And because that comes from ego as well. So, yeah, so now I feel like it is just that knowingness of what your soul is and what you're capable of, and just understanding that you cannot be 100% of like if you're going to call it on a scorecard, like you start at level 1 and you go up to level 100, you're not expected to get to a level 100 in your lifetime right now. So if you are at a level 10 and you're comfortable with that, it is okay to stay level 10.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, there are there are people who have so yeah, I mean, it's I would say right now it is just that creation energy is what I focus on, that and understanding it and learning how to use it, and having being able to teach that to somebody else is what's important to me.
Well, and to go back to the coherence word, because this is something that they were talking about earlier. When you hear this all the time, raise your vibration. And there's no skills, like, no, that doesn't, what does that mean? And the word coherence means that you're all in to one agenda almost, right? Like if we want to put it in, so a person, let's say you're a serial killer, you're in significantly high coherence when every agenda that you have feeds the function of serial killing. Their technically speaking, their creation vibration is a lot stronger than somebody who's at a casino who is trying to be a godly figure. But where are you? You're having fun, you're gambling, you're drinking, which is out of coherence if you also decide you want to be there on Sunday and you decide those things are outside of my faith. Right? So that hinders a vibration. And I think that's where we get messed up is, well, let me rephrase that. Because they're saying I've said that in a way that makes it seem like being a serial killer is idealized. It's not. But I'm trying to say it's like what Melissa, what you were saying is we are creation. Spirituality is the ability to create in forwards in time. If we think about how people use it the most, right? They're manifesting, they want the outcomes, or they want to heal inner childs, right? There's always a function spirit serving. But if you can't bring yourself into cohesion about the function you want spirit to serve, it's going to be very confusing in that way. So I'm curious, where do you find within you the least amount of coherence? For myself, I would say, kind of like what we were talking about off air, I really think that I'm individualized and really strong-minded about my own self, but the discoherence inside of me is I also don't know how to have boundaries, which makes my vibration suffer quite a bit when I'm letting these two different things oscillate. My creation future is in trouble. What about you, Ariel?
I think for me, it would just be about speaking up for how I feel or situations that I'm in where I'm not always comfortable. So, like for me, I don't like to have disagreement, and so I've I am a lot better now. But before, I'd be really quick to bend the knee and say, okay, whatever, whatever it is to kind of keep the peace. But I find myself doing that less and less now. And the other day, uh, my husband was texting. He was being a little spicy, asking about the details of what we were doing. What time are you meeting? How long are you going to be out? And I was like, why? Are you trying to set up a hot date? But for me, it was just like I was like shaking the whole time. But it's like, no, just say the damn thing, because it's not like I'm not being serious about it. It's joking. So I think for
Yeah.
me to kind of put myself into more saying what I'm thinking, or because it just because, like what is he gonna do? Say yes, say no. I don't know, but that's been a lot more freeing for me.
Well, that's the perfect word. It's freeing.
Mm.
What about you, Danica?
I think probably one of the things that I've been struggling with that I'm working on, and I just recognized this yesterday on a car ride, not letting people make choices for me. That it is okay that if somebody chooses something and they just have expectations that I'm just going to go along with it. Normally I would, if because I'm pretty easygoing. If
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel strongly about it, I'll just go along with it. Even if I haven't checked in with myself, do I really want to do this?
Ooh.
Does this feel good to me? Instead of asking, pausing and checking in with myself, how I really feel in my body about it, and then where I'm feeling it in my body.
Mm.
So I did that yesterday, and I ended up changing the direction of things, and it felt really good. And it didn't cause contention like I expected it to, because that has been what I've experienced in the past. So that was refreshing too, that I got to stand up for myself and make my own choice, and it was still peaceful. It was really cool.
And trust was built with two people that day.
Yeah, it felt good.
What about you, Melissa?
I would say the challenge for me is in not managing people, because it's always been my habit to keep the peace by fixing the problems. And what that equates to is treating people like problems. And that's how I make people feel sometimes. And that is not my intent. But I forget that, first off, I'm not there to solve their problems. They need to work through their own issues, because that's part of life and growth. And so I am doing them a disservice, and I'm doing myself a disservice at the same time. So it diminishes my spirit to treat people in that way. So that is something that I am working on.
And now on the flip side, where do we feel within our soul right now is the most coherence? and I'll say for myself, the most coherence I have is that I know and believe I'm a good person. And over the course of my life, I have not believed that, and I've not always been. And I think that that's the highest coherence is like, no matter what effed up thing I do, I'm trying, and I know I'm a good person. What about you, Ariel?
For me, it would be I know that I'm a good mom. I worry so much about my kids, but it's me worrying about them, about things that they're not even thinking about. I felt like I was putting almost like droplets into their mind of anxiety that they didn't need to be anxious about the situations that haven't come to fruition yet. And instead of the what if, because they're not thinking like that. What if? And so for me, just recognizing that I am a good mom, my kids love me a whole lot, and my son's always
Gosh, they
telling
do.
me, "You're the best mom in the whole world. I'm so glad that you're my mom and that I chose you. We chose each other." And it's just, you know, if I know it's still like preteen and everything, but man, I just they haven't been angry at me yet for anything, so I don't like that. But so I guess there's still some comfortability, but yeah.
And what about you, Danica?
I would say that I finally feel like I'm on my right path. That the last 42 years, it's felt like I was told, well, this is what you should do. You should get married, you should have kids, you should do this, you should, live like this. And I feel like I'm finally doing my path and what feels good to me, what's in coherence with me. And I'm starting to see some of the fruits of that within like some of the conversations that I've had with my kids and like different events that have happened in that. It's just confirmation of that, which feels really good finally.
And what about you, Melissa?
I would say being able to say out loud who I am and be honest about things that I have known about myself and been shy or not wanting to say, and having community that reinforces that with me is part of what keeps me in alignment with myself. So, in alignment with spirituality is all the same thing. So that I would not have had that confidence had I not gone through some training and gone through. It's almost like the training in the metaphysics, it's almost like its own spiritual counseling at the same time. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
have to come to terms with your past, with things that you have not been proud about, with things that you cover up. I mean, it's like you have to be 100% honest with yourself, and that process helps you come into alignment. And that's kind of where I am right now.
I think that's so true. I think that was actually going to be my next question, which I think is funny. Is I was going to say, what spiritual event started you guys off on to deciding I'm going to go do this legitimately, or what was your first spiritual experience that made you believe something was going on? And you guys have known me for a while, so y'all know mine really just started off. I moved into a new apartment. I started having conversations in my mind that didn't make sense for me, but I just told myself I was practicing for whatever I thought, I don't know, until I remember having a conversation with my son, who's African American, who I don't have, about the future in America and the unfairness with the police. And I'm literally washing dishes and I'm emotional. Like I can feel my son not listening to me, and I can feel myself panicking. And I turned off the water and put the dish down and thought, I'm not practicing this conversation for myself. Like that's not what's happening. And it was about a couple of months later that then I started training because I just felt insane. Once I had that, I backtracked through all the other conversations I'd been having by myself, and I'm like, I don't I don't know what's happening. I felt like I was going crazy. What about you, Ariel?
Well, for me, I would say that my journey started a few years ago, kind of just like in and out. I went to different stores and was always interested in something, but I didn't know really what I was interested in. And it wasn't until last year when I had gotten an aura photo done and it came with a reading. And so this woman in front of me just sat and just told me everything that had been heavy on my heart. And I was really at that point where uh, I knew that I didn't want to continue living the way that I was living. I wanted to have more of an identity of me. So even like just now, like it's it feels uncomfortable to still talk about me because I have not had that. I just um but they just are reminding me of how far I've come like since then and still have to go, that I am a person on my own outside of wife, mother, daughter, etc. So it was just at that point that I decided that I wanted to start doing for myself. So I started attending the Dark Night of the Soul classes. I attended a few like mediumship classes, and it was just from there where I really just stuck to it, and then had the classes with Sophia and really lit the fire in me to say that I can do this, like, and not even just like the psychic mediumship, but just as an individual, that I am worth so much more than the thoughts that I have in my head sometimes. So I feel like for that I'll always be grateful.
And what about you, Danica?
Well, it's a long story, so we're just gonna try to condense it. It all started December 6th, 2023, when my oldest daughter died in a motorcycle accident. 7 months later, my grief therapist recommended seeing a psychic medium, and I had never been to one. I didn't know. I mean, I had seen like what's her name on TV, Montel Williams or whatever. I don't remember. I don't remember her name. So I knew what they were, but I didn't know. I had never experienced it firsthand. So I had the phone call and was blown away. It rocked my world. It was the first time I had felt peace, and I had to know more. So I actually had been given a book by one of my previous friends, and that piqued my interest to read that book. It was called Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. And I started doing some of the exercises that she had in the book, and was I felt like I was going crazy because shit was happening that I couldn't really explain it in any other way. So I started like writing it down. I started taking pictures, like to prove to myself, like, this shit's really happening. I have physical proof of this.
Yes.
Like, anyway, there's lots of stories, but one of my neighbors showed up and gave me some signs and things to tell his wife, and I was scared to death, and I did it anyway when she came over for dinner. And she said to me, I don't know how you know that stuff, but keep receiving your, she called them revelations. So,
Wait, was she Mormon?
no, she was not.
Oh, because
No.
that language is very.
Well, that's why I started laughing, because I was previously Mormon. And
That's
so
what I
I
thought.
started laughing. No, she was not. She's still not. No, no, far from it. But yeah, so it was kind of that was the first time that I had confirmation from outside of myself that what I was doing could it was real, and it did bring peace to people that needed it. It brought healing to people that needed it. You know, I felt that from somebody that was a psychic medium, and then I was able to give that to her, and I just wanted to keep doing that because I had never felt so much peace after that.
Amazing, and that's so true. And Melissa.
So I grew up like as a young child. I remember telling my mom stories of my past lives and about just weird stuff.
Do you
And
remember any of them that you told her?
oh, I remember some. Yeah, like I remember telling her that I was 3 at this time. And I told her we had, I was with my mom and my dad at the time. We were stopped at a gas station, and I remember pointing up the road that was close by, and it was kind of on a hill. There was a white house there. And I said, my brother lives there. And she's like, you don't have any brothers or sisters, honey. I said, no, but my brother has come like there. My brother went there. Never knew the families, didn't know anything about it. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then I would tell her, Mom, do you remember when you were the daughter and I was the mom? And she's like, no, I don't remember that. um, but just like, when kids are little, we've all heard some kids that have seen this, heard that, whatever. We're just the veil is a little thinner for us when we're at that age. And it happened with my kids too. And so going fast forwarding a little bit into as I was a small child, I would talk to my guides and I would say prayers and I would have this beam of light between me and God. And I would get answers. Like I would ask questions, I would get answers. And this would be in like even just in the daytime. Like I was worried about something and I felt like, okay, it's just like as I got older, I'm like, that's just devil's advocate. Like I ask her and I'm answering my own question. And in middle school, I would be in class, the teacher would be lecturing, I would hear somebody else have a question in their mind they wanted to ask, but they were too scared to ask it, and I would ask it out loud because I didn't care. So that kind of stuff. And then premonition dreams, feelings of like, okay, some like this, whatever moment I was in, something is about to happen. And then I would be able to alter that course of events by changing whatever. And so as I was pregnant with my first child, before I knew I was pregnant, I knew I was going to have a daughter. I knew what her name was going to be. So that kind of stuff, just like all these things where at some point in your life, everybody has had some sort of knowingness of something. It was that tenfold. It was all the time. So I never thought anything about it. I guess I was just very blasé. Like, when you're a kid, you're like, everything that I experience is what other people do. So I literally grew up thinking this happens to everybody. And at the point where I kind of had my tower moment, if you're into tarot cards, you know what that is. And that was only about a year ago, and I'm 50. And that was when I was like, there is something going on here. And all of those people that I'm talking to in my head are not me. Those are my guides. And it was just like this moment of clarity. And I did have to go through some training to be able to figure things out. But it is wild. It is wild to be able to have the confidence in yourself to say, this is real. This is what I'm doing. It's not fake. And you can think it's fake, and that's okay. You're not ready to experience this, but this is real, and this is my life, and this is what I do. So I don't think that I could tell you for sure that I got to that point until about 10 months ago. It's not easy for me to stand in what other people think is you are making it up. You are crazy. You're just stealing people's money. It's
Right.
all of those
That's
things.
all fear to
Yeah,
people.
it's all fear, but it's also like you have to stand in your own, I hate using the word power, but it's pretty much the same thing. You have to stand in your own alignment and your acceptance of yourself and say, yes, you don't have to agree with me, but this is what I do. So yeah, that being able to have that confidence is because confidence just in its own is something I've always struggled with, but that has been that's been difficult to get to.
Well, so the question I have, just for fun, so of what I think is interesting is of all the four of us, we have two ladies in the chat who came into their own with this post having a family. Then we've got one in the smack dab, damn near in the middle of it, with 9 and 12, right? Or, in that thereabouts, and then somebody who doesn't have any kids, right? So on the one hand, we could look at it and say, oh, well, you guys had your revelation of it all because you'd finished up with the family. But then I'd look at Ariel and I'd look at me and be like, well, that can't be the reasoning why. And then I could see mine as being like, oh, well, you got all this training done before you have your family. But then still, where's that put Ariel? So, you know what I mean? So it is weird how it's like, you're going to come to it. They just said when you need it the most. That's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the time is right for you, you're on your
Yeah.
own timeline, not other people's timeline.
No. And interesting that they said when you need it the most. So that makes me now wonder what was going on, Ariel, what was going on when you decided that you were going to, or the day that you got the aura photography photo? What was going on around your life at the time?
So much, you know. I felt like I was really at a point in my marriage where I was like, I don't think I can continue
Mm-hmm.
on like this. But I heard this quote the other day, or I read this quote, and I actually think it rings so true. Is that your your nervous system is hardwired for abandonment, but your soul is conditioned for devotion or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like that's how it felt, was that, I was in this marriage where I didn't really want to be in, but I still like loved him so much. And it's like, I know that it's nothing that I'm doing wrong in this, and I had to kind of remove myself like from that, because it was just hurting too much to stay in that position of where I was. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had to again, like, take myself out of it and focus on me, no matter what happened between me and my husband in the future. And I think just like for the longest time, I wasn't worried about being a good mom. I don't know. I guess they're like up there, but it's like, well, how can I be a good mom if I don't feel like I'm being a good wife, or like vice versa? It was just a lot of
Mm-hmm.
internal struggle.
And Melissa, what was going on around the tower? Because Danica, we recognize with your daughter. I can't ask you that same question.
Yeah.
Melissa, where were you at whenever the tower hit?
Um, well, there was a lot leading up to the tower where, like I said, even when my kids were little, they had their own experiences. So I, at that point in my life, was just like, okay, these are just little episodic things that we experience, not a part of a skill set, if you want to think of it
Mm-hmm.
that way. So, so we had all these little things, and we had a woo woo shop in the area that that had classes for kids. They had psychic development classes for adults. And so we as a family would go out there and we learned a lot, and it was fun, and it was just like a family thing that we did. And um, so fast forward to my kids are grown up, they're out living their own lives, and my husband and I decide to make this ginormous cross country move from Texas all the way up to Washington State. And at that point in time, I had transitioned out of being like a registered nurse, floor nurse. I had got my master's degree. I'm going into teaching, and I got this amazing teaching job, paid well. It was in an area that we wanted to be in. So packed up all our stuff. The movers came and picked everything up. And literally, as soon as they left, I got a call and my offer was rescinded. And it's like, what do you do? Like the floor dropped out from under me. Um, and the what I didn't have the foresight to see in that moment was, okay, well, I have already started teaching. I'm going to be paid through the summer. I have all summer to find a new job. We have this house. It's in a great neighborhood. I wasn't able to see all of that. But the bigger thing that I wasn't able to see was how much that gave me, and the time was right, and everything was set up in a way that I got to pay attention to myself and
Mm-hmm.
develop these gifts and find out about them and explore them without any other things to worry about. And it was such a gift, and it was such a blessing that I didn't know it up front, but that was just like almost like shaking you awake, like, wake up, wake up. This is what it's going to be. So take some time, figure out yourself. And that's what it was.
Well, and so now here's the heavy hitter of all that we do. In your own phrasing, right? I'm going to ask each of you, what would you say to somebody who believed in spirit about 30%, was uncertain for the rest of it, and they found you as the first person they're genuinely asking, what do I do about this? So, Ariel, I'll let you start.
It would have to really start out with, it really does come from within. You really do need to build that foundation of, I can do this, I can do hard things and stand on business for you and yourself alone, first and foremost, because it's a little bit more difficult to really stand up for the other people when you yourself do not have that solid foundation. So it would definitely just be getting into where somebody did believe in themselves to where they were actually looking forward to waking up to the next day, because I know that there were a lot of days where it's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to continue tomorrow, but the sun always comes the next day. And so we're just really about getting somebody to have that base foundation of belief within themselves.
So sorry, but I have been completely off this entire time. I, I'm, ah. But Danica, we'll move to you, and then when I'm editing, I'm so sorry, Errol. I caught none of that. I literally went out the moment you started talking. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
so if we're cutting this out, it must just be this episode. I feel that way. I felt that way like this whole time. Like,
That
what
you've
is
been
it?
falling out of connection?
Maybe. I think because
Oh,
like it is like a personalized episode of
yes.
where it's like, here, it's your time, like we're here also for
I
you.
love that.
But, you know.
And what about you, Miss Danica? If somebody came up to you and said, "Listen, is this real? What are we doing? What are you doing?"
I would say, from my experience and from my perspective, that it takes you wanting to build a relationship with spirit, that they're there. They're just waiting for you. They're like ecstatic that you want to. So it really depends on how much time and devotion and effort and energy that you want to put into building that relationship, just like any other relationship. And then when you're starting to do that, like I always tell people, because this is how I started asking for signs every morning. I would write my little 5-minute journal, and I would, ask, I would just ask, and I would be shown something. I'm just going to use like a purple heart or something. It's just something simple. And, I would keep my eyes, ears open, you see it, you hear it, someone says it, like it comes in a song. Like there's so many different ways that it can show up. But I was always it made me excited when I got the sign that I wrote down and I took a picture of it. So I had wrote it down, I took a picture of it, so that there was proof. And it was like I was starting to build a relationship of trust,
Mm-hmm.
trusting that they were there and trusting that this is really happening. And it also built confidence in me to show up every day, and build that. It was pretty cool.
It's amazing too. Just for the record, like Melissa has been an instructor before. She teaches nursing students before, so this doesn't apply to her as much. But if you go back to our first episode, Arrow, you and Danica, y'all say like one word each time it's your turn. And now we've gotten to the point where we're in the episodes where everybody's like waxing poetics of what we're seeing, what we're feeling. And that to me, if there's any evidence of the growth that we do as all together, our first episodes to now is just so fun because it's kind of like everyone was nervous. We do get nervous. We're like, am I seeing this right? Am I feeling this right? But it's been amazing to watch. Mainly Ariel and Danica, y'all just like the words. And
Thanks.
well, I was just thinking about you write it down in the morning. That even when you see it, you're like, am I crazy? Maybe that's not. So it really we cannot underestimate the time that takes. You can't pay somebody to overcome that. You can't meditate out of it. You just have to slowly be like, okay, maybe I'm not as crazy as yesterday. Okay, maybe today I'm not as crazy. But and Melissa, what would you say to somebody who's like, I don't know if this is real. What is it? What are we doing?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many people come up, and so if at the point where there's inevitably this point of like, oh, I've got this going on and this going on and this going, and then it's like, is this real? Yes, this is real. How do you feel about it? Would be my first question to them. Like, what do you want? Do you want to take this a step further? Are you comfortable taking this a step further? And if they're not, it's like, that's okay. At the moment you feel like it is, come back and let's have another conversation. And Almost always. I don't think I've ever had somebody say, no, I don't want to do this, because they're sitting with a psychic. I mean, like, they came in for a reason. And so they're like, yes, I want to learn more about this. I'm like, okay. And so I kind of talk them through, just like a primer, kind of what we've done today. Of like, you have spirit guides, you are a part of source is the energy. You can think of it as God. It is just that creation energy. It's in you and it's external from you at the same time, so you can connect into that. You can manifest, you can create, there's just all these ways of tapping into that. But let's start off with some basics. So it really, it kind of like, I'll ask some questions about, like, tell me what your experiences have been. And so that they start talking about themselves, and then I can kind of be like, okay, well, then let's take it in this direction. Like, if you want to do some practice sessions or something like that, I can take you into some goals on what you can do, some exercises you can practice. But the gist of all of this is that, yes, you're not crazy. This is real, and you can take this at your own pace. You don't ever have to tell anybody about it. You can tell everybody about it if you want. This is just, it is what Spirit is never going to give you more than what you're ready for. I'll put it that way. They're never going to put you in a position of failure. They're never going to present you with something so scary that you shut down. That's not what this is about. This is learning at your own pace, exploring your gifts as they come up. And if you don't feel like you have any connection to it and you want to start from ground zero, I promise you there is something there that you just don't know about yet. So you can go at it from whichever direction, and still go at your own pace and be as open or closed about it as you want.
And to kind of add the last thing I would just say of anything regarding spirit is a couple of just ground rules overarching what has already been said, which is, if you want to work in this work, the recognition is that we do not get insights about our own timeline. And the closer that people get to you, the less you can see their timeline. So this really does, on a functional way, like when you see a lot of people online and they're making money, or at your local shops, the truth really is we do get barred from being able to utilize this in a fully selfish fashion, right? So we get asked all the time, well, give us the lottery numbers. Okay, well, we can't. I'm sorry. We don't ask us. We can't do it. We'll never be allowed to see that. We don't know things about, you can study it as much as you want, but what y'all never see, or if you've been listening for a while, you see at the end, we ask each other our own questions, because that is kind of the perks of having a podcast with four psychics, is that we can try to get some information about ourselves. But if you go into meditation, it's just you, it won't work that way. And I do get a lot of clients who seem to think that if they study and they train their intuition, that this will have an effect that will go long lasting into a different circumstance. And it isn't really quite that way. Say hi to Michael's mom. And send lots of healing energy. But yeah, and so, but I would say, if there's one thing that links the four of us together, and one of the things that links us is that was really sweet. They just said our desire to heal, because I was about to say our desire to do good. But they said our desire to heal and our desire to bring order. And I don't know what order means, but I think it's almost like calm. But they're using that word, which I think is interesting. And they're also saying we are lighthouses, like, so we've got our own part of the coast, which I think is really cute, because it's always kind of like we're using light signals to say hi to each other. But I love what we do. I mean, like, I think the stuff, like kind of what Danica you were touching on, well, what we've all kind of touched on is, no matter how any of this goes, whether people believe in us or they don't, whether they utilize their muscle or they don't, we are doing what we can by being servants to this greater thing that lets us do some talking with it. Because every version of us, like, we're going to each have a different part of the message and a different part of the puzzle. But we have all been selected as much as we've selected it. And I think that's really beautiful. because it was knocking on our door that whole time, and all of us were like, "We'll see you in a bit. It's not happening right now." And then now, right as we're ready to roll, they are too. So I love that, and I think that's true for every single soul-bearing entity that exists in this plane, whether it's animalistic, whether that's what we would perceive as not alive. But it seems to be true that if we can put our hands on things and determine whether or not it's had a good life or not, in that thing being a rock, there has to be more to this creation experience than what we've been taught. But
Yeah.
and then just for fun, any last messages from our individual guides? And I'll let me see if I can get Greyhawk roused. He said attend to your future like you'll be arriving to it. What about you, Ariel?
Mine said to encourage the children. But whenever I think
Oh,
about encouraging the children, it's like to feel out those conversations with pets. Like, I know for me personally, I'll ask my kids, I say, well, what do you think the cat would say if they could talk? I mean, because we know
ooh,
they can talk. Or, um,
I
it's
love
just,
that.
yeah, it's just about
What would
encouraging
that
them,
bird say?
right? Right,
Yeah,
right. That's exactly what it is because we don't have, okay, 'cause like if you look at it like physical here and the now. Like we don't have anything to say that this is what's being said or that this is what's happening. It's
that's so
all just
true.
up here. And so it's like, so just say the thing. If you think that the cat says, "Oh, I'm hungry" or "I want to go play," then that's what the cat is saying. And so it also just helps the kids to develop their own sense of intuition. Also, and that's why I tell them also is that, well, how do you feel about this situation? Do you feel that it's right or wrong? It's okay to like go with your gut instinct. If you're in a car with people and you don't trust them, then to get out because that's is the beauty of it. Because there's enough of the outside world to squash and squander them, right? So it's whenever they're at home that we want them to really develop their best identity, to find their own voice at home.
No, I love that. And see, they are lucky to have you as a mother.
Shout out.
What about you, Danica?
Well, I'm hearing to take it back to childhood to make, everybody says that spirituality, you have to go deep, like you have to go deep within, to learn about yourself and have, learn your truths of who you are and your authenticity and why you're here and all of that. And my guide is just saying, don't forget to have fun with your curiosity. Like, it's supposed to be fun. It's not about where you're going. It's not about the destination. It's all about your journey to get, you know, there is no real destination, but it's about your journey. So don't forget to have fun. Make it lighthearted.
What about you, Melissa?
I would just say be open. That's really what they talk about. Well, first off, because my guides have a sense of humor, when you were talking about the rock and you're like, hey, what do they have to say? And my guide was like, rock and roll, let's go, come on. So, um, but yeah, like Danica said, it should be fun. You should just be open. And I think that when you do look at life from that joyful, open perspective, you enjoy life more. It changes who you are, and just that ability to say yes, this is what I want is like the first step. It's that first step of opening the door to spirit to say, okay, now we can come in a little bit and we can show you the direction and the path that's right for you. So.
Well, I love what we do. I love that we do it together. I'm very grateful as always. Um, I will be seeing you guys next week, except for Danica. You'll be up in the high places. I would be curious. Tell us what it feels like up there. What do you pick up, if anything, up at the Red Rocks, up at just being that high, being in the Mile High City? I haven't been up there since being intuitive. Like, so I don't, I would, there's areas up there. Oh, yeah, where I feel like where you're going is highly active. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This
It's
is going to
really,
be fun.
yeah. Well, think about Red, it's an amphitheater. And it's so which amphitheaters are channelers, it's they're right, it's so I'd be so curious, like, what does that earth feel like up there? It's a bucket list for me too to get up there, so I'm so excited for you. That's so fun.
We should plan a trip all together.
That would be, well, I keep wanting to see Elenium up there, and he always is doing
Ooh,
Red Rocks.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm trying to get up there for like a real or
I
like one of
love
the hard like
Millennium.
dubstep guys. That's where I think it'd be fun.
Yes, I'm
But I'm
in.
definitely getting taken over
I'm
up
just
there.
inviting myself.
No, 100. We're doing this. Like I'm not worried about this at all. But we'll decide on the topics next week. But ladies, thank you so much. I'm gonna end it, but don't drop off. And to the listeners, thank you guys so much again. We had a lot of views last week. It was kind of weird, so keep it coming. I'm really excited. But drop your questions if you have any of them. And we'll keep it coming as long as y'all do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.